This is the Pittsburg State Basketball Coaches Show with men's head coach Kim Anderson and women's head coach Amanda David. And now, here's your host, SCHRADER.
Hello and welcome back to the final edition of the Pittsburg State Basketball Coaches Show. I'm SCHRADER, and here with me as always is women's head coach Amanda David. And coach, last week of the regular season, on the paper, how are you feeling?
We're ready to go. I mean, you have to be. And it's a fun time of the year. You know, it's March Madness, and everybody's talking about going dancing. So you just hope that you're one of those lucky members that get to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually get March Madness this year.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Barring another
sure.
global pandemic or something like that. Could never imagine anything like that happening.
Oh,
but
yeah. So over it.
Yeah, I know. I can imagine. You got those weekly COVID tests, right?
Right.
So got to do those every week. That can't be fun.
Yeah. No, it's not. But hopefully we're past that. Hopefully it's moving in a good direction for next year.
Yeah, and you know, I know the tournament's going to look a little bit differently this year just because they can't have everyone in Kansas City. You know, they're having them at people's host sites. But, I mean, I think we discussed this earlier in the season, but you're just like, doesn't matter where we play. You know, we're in the tournament.
Right. Yeah, for sure. You just want to be, you know, trying to continue your season and like we've been saying, playing our best basketball, and I think we're close to that. And so, and then you want to try to maybe you hope you match up with maybe a matchup you feel confident about that maybe you came close to beating before, or maybe you did have a win. And so, you know, that's the way we're going to spin it.
Yeah, and you had a couple of close matchups this week. Let's go ahead and roll into these first highlights with you guys playing Emporia. Now, we knew that this was going to be, you know, a contest. You guys beat them in overtime earlier in the season, you know, thanks to a couple of Tristan Gegg three-pointers. So, you know, did you anticipate it being a dogfight going in?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, especially, you know, you get on social media or you hear, I actually had one of our players send me some social media of, you know, they were going to be ready for the game, and so it feeds both teams, and that's the fun part about competition, and again, like in our conference, the rivalries that exist really all throughout the league, and for one reason or another, of course, we've played Emporia many times in the postseason and those situations in the past, and a lot of our kids have grown up watching that. You know, Sydney Crane from Girard, Tristan Gegg from Labette County, and just Maya from Carthage. Like, those kids have seen those games. That's what they came on their recruit visits, and so these are big moments for them to live up to and get that opportunity too.
And this was a really close game, you know, until the very end. But I think you mentioned in the post game that you're not used to playing, I think it was a defense like Emporia's,
yeah.
and that was extremely difficult.
Yeah, Emporia, since Toby's gotten there, he's really implemented a zone that night in, night out, that's what they're doing most of the time. And then they'll throw some junk at you, and they'll also maybe mix in some moments of man just to get you off balance. Like, oh man, we thought they were going to be zone. And so he tries to mix it up a little bit. For the most part, they're zone. And so I thought our kids, you did a great job out of the gates, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I think the normal players that you would expect were playing really well that night. You know, I think the offense slowed down, you know, a little bit maybe towards the end of the game. But when you get in those tight situations, you know, what do you tell your girls to kind of keep them fired up?
Well, you just got to be able to make plays, and that comes down to the defensive and offensive end. And there was part in the second quarter where we just weren't rebounding very well. We had done an outstanding job up there on the boards, and then we started off the game extremely well. And then you know, Sid Crane making a shot, and then we get to the second half, and we had some open looks. We really did, and you just got to have you know, those guts and the kind of getting sick of losing these close games, and you just have to put them in. And that's what, you know, watching Emporia, they made some huge shots, 2 huge threes. One of their freshmen made one in the corner on us, and then their post player popped and made one at the top of the key. And that's what it comes down to. We've got to be able to make those shots in big moments.
Well, the final score on that, it ended up being Emporia 65, Pitt State 58. And so you guys did split the season. You kind of mentioned you guys have a tendency to win there, and they have a tendency to win in Pitt.
It is very strange.
Yeah, I can imagine how frustrating that would be.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I have no idea. We'll never know if we knew those answers. You know, we would be able to sell it and probably not be coaching, making a lot of money. But yeah, for the most part, it's been just a really healthy rivalry back and forth. Or, yeah, they win at our place and we win at theirs. And, you know, you'd love to just win them all, but it is what, you know, keeps it interesting for the fans, I suppose. But I mean, we have a lot of respect for Emporia and what Toby does, and obviously, you know, the zone had given us a little bit of fits, but I do think we're continuing to get better at it.
Yeah, and like I said, that was a very entertaining game to watch just from a spectator's perspective.
Yeah.
We really didn't know which way it was going to go until the final couple of minutes there, but, you know, taking a loss in the last week of the regular season like that, I mean, what do you think that did for the girls as far as kind of pushing them and motivating them going into the game against Newman?
Yeah, well, it's senior night, and then of course you want to bounce back, and so you know, we knew it was going to be a zone offense, or zone defense as well, and so for us, we really needed to just continue to polish that up, and you know, it just comes down to really putting your seniors out on the right foot. And I thought the girls, you know, did a great job of finishing that game. We just struggled early. Both teams kind of came out flat, just missed a lot of shots, and both teams open, you know, and getting good looks, but just couldn't get them to go in. And so we finally, you know, we went at half, and we honestly just, you know, you kind of choose whether you yell about it or do you just like take the pressure off and just try to get them to get back to confident. And we just took the route of, hey, what's going on? Let's just go, you know. And then they did come out, and obviously Kaylee was a big part of that, scoring 20 points in the second half.
Well, obviously you guys did get it figured out. A little bit of a spoiler alert, they won that game, but we will talk about that a little bit more after the break.
All the girls, all the countless girls that I've been through the program with, all of them, by the time that they left, we've all become family. So this experience is more about the relationships that I built more than anything.
And that was the lone senior on the girls, Maya Williams, speaking about her time with the team. And yeah, so it was senior day yesterday, her last regular season game at home. And I mean, how did that make you feel as a coach? You know, how sad are you to see her go?
Well, yeah, obviously, and Maya's been around for 5 years, and known her for 6 if you count the year we recruited her. And we also have gotten close with family and friends of hers, and just seeing them, and you know, and you get to see kids come back, and so it really is about the relationships, like she mentioned. And it's always great to have kids in the local community that people are connected to, and they have a lot of you know, pride in watching and cheering on and supporting, and just that they feel connected to our program. And so I think that that's what Maya, you know, brings us. And then of course, like she said, I hope that we've given her a great experience, and I think we have. She's been at, you know, some of the high points when we went to an Elite Eight. She's been here so long. She'll call herself grandma. I had to tell her to stop doing that because it just makes her feel older and move slower. So, but she's just done a great job of getting herself in a competitive state this year with some of the injuries she had last year. And you know, it's a lot of work. And Maya's definitely put in her time, and I think that, you know, she's going to be successful in anything she does because of her, like she talked about relationships, but her ability to connect with people. She's just got such a wonderful personality and is just a terrific young lady.
Yeah. I can attest to that. You know, covering this team, I didn't really know any of you before this season, and I remember the first practice I walked into, she just had the biggest smile on her face. And I think you had me interview her because she was a senior. I'd never said 2 words for her, and she was acting like, you know, we were best friends, like we had known each other our entire lives. So, you know, I'll just miss her from an aspect of covering her, but she really did go out, you know, at home the best way possible before going into the tournament. Let's go ahead and roll into these highlights with Newman visiting Pittsburg State. And yeah, Maya, she opened up the game with kind of her little signature 3-pointer there on the corner.
Yep, that's what she does. And like I said, if you see her open that corner and you've watched any film, you know that that's one that she feels really comfortable with and very confident in.
Yeah, I was looking back through the highlights for I think the past 2-3 games, and every single time she was the first person to score on that corner.
Yeah, it's crazy, and the girls do a great job of finding her, and that's something by the end of the season you hope that your kids do start to recognize their individual skills and how they can play off of each other. And so I think the girls do a great job of finding her.
Now, if I were an opposing coach watching film, I'd be like, do not let her get to that corner. What are you doing? Why are you leaving her open like that so often? But, you know, yeah, she really shone in the game against Newman. I think she finished with 10 points. And, you know, this was kind of an offensive battle. And I think, you know, this ended up being a really close game. And something we discussed is you guys have had a lot of those really close games this season, sometimes kind of struggle to get over that hump, but you were able to pull away and you were able to finish really strong.
Yeah, for sure. And you saw even that layup Kaylee made, it bounced, like it wanted to go out, but it finally dropped. And so, and yeah, Jamie made a couple big plays there to start. Good to see freshmen stepping up, Abby Beachy getting a little put back there and finishing the play. And so it started to give us a little bit of momentum and a little bit of lift, and then we got cut off at the half. But they made some big shots too. I mean, and that's where they were being, you know, playing on their last game and wanted to get their last win. And that's what makes it tough, is these are all, you know, high-level players. And it just, by the end of the season, you know, somebody might have more losses, but they're still a very high-quality team. And Newman has knocked many teams off at the end of the year. I know last year they got Emporia, and so they are very capable. So we wanted to keep our girls focused the whole time. I think there was a time, I think when Kaylee made her basket, I probably have to explain what I was doing on that one because I was pretty grumpy when we got the timeout, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, to talk about right now. Kaylee, she had an amazing game yesterday. She had 25 points, but she also broke 1,000 career points, which, what a way to end the regular season. What confidence kind of get going into the postseason?
For sure, it's no surprise. I mean, we said that about Tristan as well. Those two are very capable, very, scoring-oriented guards. And so I don't think it was any, not something that they really set out to do. It's just kind of an expectation. They're going to get there. It's just a matter of what time. And do it by the end of their junior year is pretty impressive. And then again, you see Kaylee distributing the basketball. So she kind of does it all. And she's obviously a big motor on defense for us. And so for Kaylee to get to 1,000, I was really excited for her to be able to do it at home by the end of this season. I know we have at least one more game left, but I was excited for her to be able to do it in front of our home fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that basket's in here somewhere. There are so many highlights from you guys for this game. But yeah, the final score on that, 69-61. And so, yeah, you guys pulled away and really finished strong. And so after the game, what sorts of things were you discussing, kind of takeaways for that game heading into the postseason?
Just that you're glad to get the win, and you will have to grind some games out. It might not be pretty, but if you can finish those games and make those pressure shots, then that's what will definitely give you the confidence when you're in those next big games to go ahead and finish. And that's what that moment when Kaylee, they called that timeout after she had made it. I jumped him right in the huddle because we were cheering, and I did not hear the announcer say that was her 1,000th point. And so I had remembered in some other close games where we'd went on a run and there was still 5 minutes left or whatever that we ended up losing we gave up some shots and they were still making threes and everything after that timeout. But so I was trying to just get them refocused, like, hey, we haven't won anything yet. And just from our past experiences. And so then after the game I said, did she get the 1,000? And everybody's looking at me like, what is wrong with you? So it was kind of a funny moment. I didn't realize all that till after the game. I'm like, oh no, I had no idea that they had announced it. So it's kind of funny. I'll probably have to explain that to Kaylee, but
that's
good.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
I hope she watches this.
Yeah.
Well, just really quickly, let's go ahead and look at what we're going to be looking at for the MIAA tournament. We have Hayes hosting Missouri Southern, Emporia hosting Central Oklahoma, and then if we go over to the next graphic, we have Central Missouri hosting Washburn, and then you guys get to travel, as you said earlier, halfway across the world to Nebraska Kearney.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like our trainer Kevin Combe said, they have some good restaurants there, so. Hopefully we get to stick around and it'll be a good road trip for us. To sometimes getting away is good. Sometimes we actually are better on the road record-wise this year, and so sometimes it's good to just get your team on the road, get them focused, and get away from maybe potential noise of or distractions and all those things, and just let us have our last moments together, and hopefully be able to come out with the win.
Well, I'm very excited for you guys. I know that's not a fun trip, but hey, if you guys are better on the road, maybe it's a good thing in the end.
Make the most of it.
Yeah. Well, Coach, thank you so much for being with me here every single Sunday this season. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, and I wish you guys the best of luck moving forward. It's been an absolute pleasure covering you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We appreciate all the support you give our kids and just the attention that they get. It's awesome.
Well, thank you so much. This will wrap it up with Coach David here, but we're not done yet. We'll be back with men's head coach Kim Anderson after the break. And welcome back to the final edition of the Pittsburg State Basketball Coaches Show. I'm still SHEA, and with me is men's head coach Kim Anderson. And Coach, a little bit of a rough week, but how are you feeling today?
Oh, I felt better, but you know what? It's one of those things where we didn't play well Thursday and put us in a big hole for Saturday, and actually had, I'm not going to say had the game under control, but we had a 10, 11 point lead and let that slip away a little bit, and we've done that a lot this year. So, you know what? The guys played hard, and certainly disappointing to end the season like this, but looking forward to a bright future, and most, if not all, of these guys will be back. So we got a lot of work to do.
And that's definitely a point I'd like to revisit later in the season. I know that later in the show, season's over. But, I know that a lot of those guys, they have that extra year of eligibility available to them just because of COVID. I know a lot of them, it was their first year here. And so, you said yourself yesterday that, they'll likely gel better in the future and that they'll have more time to develop that team chemistry. But let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights from Emporia earlier in the week before we delve into all that. And, something that you said kind of in the post game after this is that this game was lost in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, I thought in the first 10 minutes we had some opportunities. They shot an air ball and we didn't take advantage of them. I think we had a little bit of a lead and not much, but at least we were on top for a while, and then we didn't take advantage of their bad shooting early, and then they figured it out. Hey, we're in this game, we can stay in this game, and certainly really disappointed in this game in our performance. I thought we shot the ball poorly. We've had no answer for the guards the last 2 games. 5 guards amongst Newman and Emporia State have scored over 100 points, and it's hard to win that way. So, but you got to give them credit. I thought they played well.
Well, I mean, like you said, I think you guys had, some decent shots open. They just didn't fall. And I think that was, really kind of the major struggle is if you look at the shooting, the percentage was pretty low there. And so do you chalk that up to, nerves, or how do you think that you have, good open shots? It's just they don't fall.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, I think it's confidence. A lot of it's confidence. And this team, went on a 5-game winning streak just probably 2.5 weeks ago, and we won our 5th game in a row. And then we went and played Northwest, and we lost that buzzer beater at Western. And I think sometimes with young kids, their confidence gets shattered a little bit, and come out and play in a game and miss your first 3 shots or your first 4 shots, and you start thinking about it. And certainly this game was a game where we shot 30% and from the field, and when you shoot that poorly, it's hard to win, especially when the other team shoots 45 or 50.
Do you also think that maybe that they put some pressure on themselves, just knowing that they hadn't clinched that spot in the tournament yet, postseason was on the line? Do you think that those nerves could have played into this at all?
Yeah, I do. I think we're a young team in many respects. We're a first-year team, and there were 9 new guys on the roster at the beginning of the year, and I think that we have some freshmen playing, and we have some guys playing their first year at this level. And even though you have grad students like Bobby or Ryan or Antonio, they're human too. And I think if you look back at it, they probably did put a little pressure on themselves, and obviously that carried over into the game. We didn't shoot well and didn't guard well. And that's not a very good recipe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and everyone has their off nights, I think, too. I know that this was Bobby's first game back. He was just coming off of injury, so probably pretty unfortunate timing there, too, for him. But, yeah, so that was the loss in the book this week. I know moving into the next game, you guys really did have a lot on the line against Newman, and we'll go ahead and discuss that after the break. So I'm back here with head coach Kim Anderson. And Coach, I know you guys had kind of a tough loss, going for you earlier in the week, but, you still did have a shot at making the postseason tournament against Newman, and you guys came really, really close to that.
Well, we played okay. I think that, again, we changed the lineup up a little bit, try to get a little bit smaller, faster lineup. They have a couple of guards, and it turned out they had 3 guards that really could score the basketball. And we struggled defensively, and we shot the ball all right, but we had an 11-point lead in the second half and let them get back in it. And when you do that, it gives the other team confidence. They had absolutely nothing to lose, and they just came out hooping, and they did a great job. And we couldn't make stops at the end when we needed to, or we started trading baskets. They're up 1, we're up 1, they're up 1, and they had the ball last and scored.
Yeah, I think, too, it really kind of was just a matter of possession. I know you guys had the ball back with like 2 seconds to end it on an inbounds play, so not a great situation to be in.
We actually ran the play right, so the season ended, but we ran the play right. We just didn't make the shot.
Shot just didn't fall.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and dive into these highlights here. Like you said, one thing that I noticed to start the game, Quentin Hardrick Jr., he had an amazing first half. I was going through these highlights. About every other clip was him and, of course, Antonio.
Yeah, they played, as I said, at halftime we were up 4. I thought that we were not controlling the game, but I thought we were playing pretty well. And then we extended that early in the second half, and I think got to 11 at one point. And then we let them get back in. Their guards got going, and we had no answer. We couldn't stop the drive, and they hit a couple of deep threes, and before you know it, the game's tied, and you're playing back and forth.
When you get in those tight situations, and I feel like there have been a lot of these tight situations this season where you guys are really in it, and then either it goes your way or it doesn't go your way. What do you kind of say to your guys for them to keep their head in the game, knock it down on themselves and to just keep plucking along?
Yeah, we've had a lot of close games, maybe more close games than I've ever had in my career in one season. And again, I think, it comes down to having the confidence to make the play, not getting rattled. And we always talk about the concept of don't make 2 mistakes in a row. In other words, don't miss a shot and then not run back on defense and guard your man, because now you got double trouble. You might give up, instead of 0 points, it might be 6 points. So I thought these guys played hard, but when it got down to the end, we couldn't make the shot.
Well, I know that this game ended in a very tight loss, 79-77. Very frustrating, especially when it comes down, to the last 2 seconds of a game like that. So that's the bad news. Bad news is you're not in the tournament, but, as we kind of touched on a little bit earlier in the show, good news is a lot of these guys are going to be coming back. They're very young, they've played a lot of great games this season, and they seem to have a really bright future ahead of them. So, this offseason, what do you kind of expect from them?
Yeah, well, you and I talked a little bit about that last night after the game. I think that any time you can have a core intact for more than 1 year, that helps you. Next year will be a lot easier at the start. We won't have to teach as much offense, and they'll understand defensive concepts. We had the 9 new guys, and when you have that many guys, it takes a while to get them going. So, we talked about this as it turned out with the way the standings, where the games went yesterday. It wouldn't have mattered if we won or not. We weren't going to make the tournament, but still, you hate to go out with a tough loss like that, because it stays with you now. It's going to stay with you for a while, but hopefully it'll serve as a motivating force in the off season.
And I can definitely see that happening. Obviously I think the guys were pretty disappointed, but I think there's a lot to look forward to. But before we wrap this up, this final edition of the Pittsburg State Basketball Coaches Show, I have to ask you, what was your favorite memory from this season?
Oh, you know what? Probably going back to, off the top of my head, probably beating Missouri Western when we were down 16 or 18 points at halftime. So, I was really proud of the way our guys came back, and I think it taught us something. And we played well for a while, but at the end, injuries, COVID, everything else kind of caught up with us, and weren't able to finish.
That's kind of the theme of the world right now. Things were going great, but then COVID.
Well, you've done a great job. It's been a pleasure being here every week, and you're getting to be a pro.
Well, thank you for joining me every week. I was really nervous when this started, but I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I'm sure there are probably a lot of things you'd rather be doing than sitting in the studio talking to me.
There is today, yeah.
All right. Well, Coach, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure this season, and I hope you have a great off season. And until next season, I'm going to say that word again. I'm SHEA SCHRADER with head coach Kim Anderson. Have a nice evening.
This has been the Pittsburg State Basketball Coaches Show.